All right, so buckle up because today we're diving headfirst into the world of radio tech. We've got the IC-905 transceiver on the table, and judging by this product brochure you sent over, it's packing some serious heat. This isn't just another radio, this thing is practically reinventing the game.
It's ambitious, that's for sure. Right out of the gate, you can tell the IC-905 is aiming high. They want it to be the most powerful, most versatile radio anyone's ever laid eyes on.
And that's what we're here to find out. We're going to cut through all the fancy jargon and figure out if this thing lives up to the hype. So what's the first thing that jumps out at you when you see this brochure?
Well, they're calling it the industry-first multi-band 144 megahertz to microwave transceiver. And let me tell you, that's a mouthful.
Okay, I'll admit, it sounds impressive, but you're going to have to break that down for me. In plain English, what does that even mean?
So multi-band basically means it can operate on a whole bunch of different radio frequencies. We're talking everything from your standard VHF and UHF bands, the ones most amateur radio operators use, all the way up to those super high-frequency microwave bands. And get this, it goes all the way up to 10 gigahertz. That's almost unheard of, especially for a device this compact.
Whoa, okay. We're already venturing into uncharted territory, and I bet I'm not alone here. I'm guessing a lot of our listeners are feeling the same sense of awe right now. So we're going from walkie-talkie frequencies to, well, what exactly can you DO with microwaves? What's the big selling point there?
This is where things get really interesting. Microwave frequencies open up a whole new world of possibilities. First off, they can handle way more data than those lower frequencies can. Think about what that means. Blazing fast internet speeds, even in the middle of nowhere where traditional internet struggles to reach.
Okay, now you're speaking my language. Faster internet is always music to my ears.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But it's not just about speed. Microwaves travel through the air differently, which means you can get insanely clear long-distance communication without all the interference. Imagine having a video call with someone on the other side of the world, and it's clearer and smoother than anything you can get with the internet right now. That's the power of microwaves.
This is starting to sound less like a radio and more like something straight out of Star Trek. But how does the IC-905 manage to pull off this level of performance? The brochure mentions something about a separated controller and RF unit design. What's the deal with that?
That's one of the things that makes this design so clever. You've got the controller unit, which is basically the brains of the operation. It's what you'll interact with. Touch screen, all the controls, the whole shebang. But the part that actually transmits and receives the signals, the RF unit, is designed to be mounted directly onto the antenna, completely separate from the controller.
Okay, I'm following so far, but why go through all that trouble? Why not keep everything together in one neat little box?
Signal loss, my friend. At these incredibly high microwave frequencies, even a short cable can weaken the signal significantly. But by putting the RF unit right there on the antenna, you're essentially eliminating that signal degradation. It's all about maximizing both power and efficiency.
So it's kind of like having a top-of-the-line sound system where the speakers are perfectly placed for that optimal, crystal clear audio instead of being crammed into some random corner.
Exactly. And speaking of precision, the brochure also talks about something called a GPS-controlled oscillator. Now, this is where we're getting into some really fine-tuned, high-tech wizardry.
Yeah, GPS-controlled oscillator definitely sounds like something ripped straight from a sci-fi movie. You're going to have to walk me and our listeners through this one.
So to make these microwave frequencies work as reliably as they need to, you need ridiculously precise frequency control. Even the tiniest variation can throw everything off.
So we're talking about hitting a target the size of a pinhead from miles away, right? That level of accuracy.
You got it. And that's where the GPS comes into play. The IC-905 uses those incredibly accurate time signals from GPS satellites to essentially keep its internal clock perfectly synchronized. This whole GPS-controlled oscillator setup ensures that even when temperatures fluctuate or the components start to age, the IC-905 stays locked on target.
Wow, it's like having a microscopic conductor making sure every single note is perfectly in tune. That level of precision is honestly mind-blowing. But it's not just about the hardcore technical stuff, right? The IC-905 seems to be absolutely loaded with cool features.
Oh, absolutely. And these aren't just gimmicks either. They're all about making the IC-905 as incredibly versatile as possible.
And you know we love versatility. So let's dive into some of these features, starting with the real-time spectrum scope. It sounds amazing in theory, but what does it actually DO? Is it like X-ray vision, but for radio waves?
In a way, yeah, that's a pretty good way to put it.
Yeah.
Imagine you're trying to pick up a super faint signal, but there's a ton of noise and interference all around. The spectrum scope lets you actually see all the different signals around you, how strong they are, and even where they're coming from. It's basically a visual roadmap to the entire radio spectrum.
So you can literally see the radio landscape. That's wild. Now, what about this amateur TV feature? Are we talking about broadcasting our own shows here?
Not quite broadcast television, but you're on the right track. Amateur TV, or APV for short, lets you send and receive live video over, you guessed it, radio waves. Imagine being able to have a live video chat with someone miles away, and you don't even need an internet connection for it. That's the power of ATV.
Okay, now that's just plain cool. So we've got crystal clear audio calls, potential for mind-blowing video calls, and all without relying on the internet. What else can this thing do?
What about D-Star? I'll be honest, I'm drawing a blank on that one.
D-Star stands for Digital Smart Technology for Amateur Radio. Essentially, it's a more advanced digital way for ham radio operators to communicate with each other. Think of it like adding texting, picture messaging, and even location sharing to your ham radio setup, all transmitted through radio waves.
So it's not just about voice anymore. It's like a whole communication platform built right into the radio. Exactly. It's all about making ham radio more versatile and giving operators more ways to connect and share what they're experiencing. And the IC-905 brings all of these incredible features together in one sleek package.
This is seriously impressive. We're just scratching the surface of what the IC-905 can do, and I'm already blown away. But before we get completely lost in the nitty-gritty details, I'm curious about the bigger picture. What kind of impact could a device like this have on radio communication as a whole?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And I honestly believe it has the potential to be huge. We're already seeing a growing interest in using those higher frequencies for everything from transmitting data at lightning-fast speeds to conducting groundbreaking scientific research. And the IC-905 makes accessing those frequencies way more accessible than ever before. It's a game changer.
So it's not just a cool new gadget. It could be a catalyst for some serious innovation in a field that often gets overlooked.
Exactly. By putting these incredibly powerful and versatile tools in the hands of more people, whether they're hobbyists, seasoned researchers, or just curious minds eager to explore, we're opening the door to a whole new world of discoveries and advancements in the world of radio communication. It's a really exciting time to be paying attention to this field, that's for sure.
I'm with you on that. It really makes you wonder what other incredible developments are just around the corner. But we still got a lot more to unpack with the IC-905. We'll be back in just a bit to dive deeper into those fascinating features and really explore what they mean for the future of radio communication. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we're knee-deep in the incredibly cool world of the IC-905 radio transceiver. We spent the last segment getting to grips with what this thing can do, and let me tell you, it's a lot.
This isn't just your grandpa's ham radio. We're talking about a device that's single-handedly changing the game. But it's the features that really get me going, so let's dive right into those.
Absolutely, and I'll say it again. These aren't just some fancy bells and whistles. They're what make the IC-905 so revolutionary.
So let's start with something that's been on my mind since we started talking about the real-time spectrum scope. It sounds amazing on paper, but help me wrap my head around it.
Imagine this. You're in the middle of nowhere. Maybe a natural disaster just hit, and communication is down. Emergency responders are scrambling, trying to coordinate relief efforts. The spectrum scope lets them see the airwaves, cut through all the noise, and find a clear channel to get those life-saving messages through. That's how powerful this tech is.
Okay, now that's what I'm talking about. That's a real-world application with huge implications. It's like giving everyone X-ray vision, but for radio waves.
Precisely. It's about taking something that's usually invisible and making it visible. This is going to completely change the way we understand and interact with radio.
Now, another thing you mentioned earlier really piqued my interest, the IC-905's amateur TV capabilities.
Ah, yes. This is where things get really interesting.
It sounds super futuristic, but what does it actually mean in practical terms? Paint me a picture.
Imagine this. You're able to have a live video call with researchers working in a remote jungle, thousands of miles from any reliable internet connection.
Okay, I'm already hooked.
Or picture families separated by oceans, staying connected through crystal clear video chats, all powered by radio waves. That's the potential of amateur TV.
It's mind-blowing to think that we could be on the verge of a world where video calls aren't held hostage by internet access. It's like we're stepping straight into a sci-fi movie.
And it's not just about convenience, it's about accessibility. This technology could bridge the digital divide, connecting people in ways we haven't even thought of yet.
Now, we can't forget about another feature that sounds like it's straight out of the future, D-Star.
Ah, D-Star, the digital heart of the IC-905. This is where things get really interesting for ham radio operators.
Can you give us a quick rundown of what makes D-Star so special? I'll admit I'm still a bit fuzzy on the details.
Think of D-Star as giving every ham radio operator a smartphone, but instead of cell towers, they're using radio waves. It's about bringing text messaging, picture sharing, even location tracking to the world of radio communication.
So it's not just about talking anymore. It's about sharing experiences as they happen in real time.
Exactly. Imagine a group of hikers using D-Star to keep track of each other's locations, ensuring everyone stays safe and on the right path. Or picture a team of disaster relief workers using it to coordinate their efforts and share critical information in the aftermath of an earthquake. Those are just a couple of examples.
These are the kinds of applications that have the potential to be absolutely revolutionary.
Absolutely. And it's all made possible by the incredible power and versatility of the IC-905.
It's like getting a sneak peek into a future where radio isn't just about voice. It's a platform for richer, more dynamic, more engaging communication.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
You know, we've covered a lot of ground here, and I'm honestly blown away by what I'm hearing.
We've only just begun to scratch the surface.
I have a feeling we've only scratched the surface of what the IC-905 is truly capable of.
Oh, I completely agree. We haven't even touched on the potential long-term impact this technology could have.
And that's exactly what we're going to do when we come back for the final part of this deep dive.
We'll be putting on our futurologist hats and exploring the broader implications of the IC-905 and what it all means for the future of radio communication. You won't want to miss it.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We're wrapping up our exploration of the IC-905 radio transceiver. And let me tell you, after the last two segments, my mind is officially blown.
We've really dug deep into the nuts and bolts of this thing, haven't we? All those impressive features, it's really something else.
It really is. But now, let's take a step back, look at the bigger picture. Because the IC-905, it's not just another piece of tech. It represents a fundamental shift in how we think about radio, how we approach communication itself.
It's true. It's like that light bulb moment, the invention that changes everything. Suddenly, the impossible seems within reach.
Exactly. So, what are the long-term implications that have you most excited? What's got you buzzing about the future?
Well, one thing that really stands out is the potential to finally bridge that digital divide. We've been talking about it for years, but this could be a real game changer.
It's true. We often take internet access for granted, but there are still so many communities out there, entire regions, without reliable access.
Exactly. And the IC-905, with that incredible ability to use microwave frequencies for high-speed data transmission, it could be the key.
It's like we're hitting fast forward on infrastructure development. Instead of waiting years for expensive infrastructure to be built, those remote communities could have access to high-speed internet practically overnight.
Precisely. And it's not just about streaming movies or scrolling through social media either. Think about the possibilities for education, for healthcare, for economic development.
It's about connecting those communities to the rest of the world, giving them opportunities they never had before.
Absolutely. And it's not just about bridging the digital divide either. Think about scientific research, for example.
Oh, right. Scientists are always looking for new ways to collect data, especially from remote or hard-to-reach locations.
Exactly. Imagine researchers being able to use this technology to gather data from remote sensors, monitor environmental changes in fragile ecosystems, even communicate with research stations in the most extreme environments on Earth. The possibilities are endless.
It's like giving scientists a new set of eyes and ears, a way to observe and understand the world in ways that simply weren't possible before.
And with that comes the potential for incredible new discoveries, for breakthroughs that could benefit all of humanity.
And we can't forget about emergency response, something we touched on earlier. This technology could be absolutely crucial in those situations where every second counts.
Absolutely. Imagine a major earthquake or hurricane. Those traditional communication networks are often the first to go down. But with the IC-905, emergency responders could stay connected, coordinate relief efforts, share vital information.
It could be the difference between life and death for people caught in those disaster zones.
It's a powerful thought, isn't it?
It really is. And it highlights something really important. It's not just about the technology itself. It's about the people who use it.
Exactly. The true potential of the IC-905, it lies in the hands of those creative minds out there, the tinkerers, the inventors, the amateur radio operators, the ones who are passionate about pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Those are the people who will come up with applications and innovations we can't even imagine yet.
Absolutely. It's like giving a painter a new set of colors or a musician a brand new instrument.
It's about sparking creativity, about inspiring a new generation to explore the world of radio communication and push those boundaries even further.
And that's why I believe so strongly that the IC-905 is more than just a new piece of tech. It's a spark that could ignite a whole new wave of innovation in radio communication. It's a sign of even greater things to come.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? If this is where we are today, what will the world of radio communication look like in 5 years? 10 years? 20 years?
It's hard to even fathom.
It's exciting, though. The possibilities are limitless.
The future of radio is bright, that's for sure.
And on that note, we're going to wrap things up for today's deep dive. But before we go, we want to leave you with one final thought. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and never, ever stop pushing those boundaries. Until next time, keep that dial tuned to the deep dive. We'll catch you in the next episode.